Coucou my loves, comment ça va? So I did not plan to make this video for this week, but I had kind of a health crisis in a public space. I really think that it's very important when you move to France or even if you're visiting to really learn and understand kind of what to do if you all of a sudden have a healthcare emergency. And you can view this video kind of as an extension as a video I did a long time ago on what to do if you ever become sick in Paris. I learned last year that there is a phrase that if you say it to French people, they instantly react. They instantly recognize something serious is going on, you're having a health emergency, and so as a result, they kind of spring to action. With that said, let me tell you about what happened this weekend. So normally my beekeeping class is on Wednesdays, but this Wednesday, last Wednesday, I was at Roland Garros, and so I wasn't able to go. But the thing about the way that our beekeeping class works is that half of the group comes on Wednesday and the other half of the group comes on Saturday. So I decided to just go to the Saturday group. Part of the reason I didn't just skip it all together was because we were going to see a different beekeeping center in Paris, and I really want exposure to as many different beekeeping places around Paris as possible. So I get there at 10 a.m. The class is supposed to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're in this teeny tiny shack, you all. And I call it a shack because it is a shack. It is small. It is not meant for 20 adults, right? Like 20 adults could barely fit. Like we didn't even all have seats. Like there were people who were standing. It was just, we were all crowded and on top of each other. And then there was absolutely no circulation of air in here. And the first thing the guy says when he starts the class is, listen, we're not going to keep you long today because it's too hot outside, which isn't good for you and it isn't good for the bees. So just know and expect that, you know, this is going to go quite quickly. And I'm thinking, okay, great, wonderful. Maybe we'll be out of here in an hour. So they do this little presentation for 30 minutes and they say, okay, why don't you guys take a break and for 5 minutes and then come back and we'll just go through this really quickly, but you're not going to stay too long. Famous last words. So we get back in, we're there probably 10:45, this guy starts talking, and he's talking, and he's talking, and he's talking, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. In this room, there's no air circulating, and everybody has a fan. Some people have folded pieces of paper to make themselves a makeshift fan. I have a fan, I'm fanning myself. I have water, I've drank all my water, you know, we're all sitting there. And 10:45 becomes 11:15, 11:15 becomes, you know, 11:30, and I'm getting hot, right? Like I'm really starting to feel quite weak, I'm starting to feel nauseous, and I'm just feeling like discombobulated a bit, right? There's a man who's closest to me and he goes, are you tired? Because at one point I'm just like slooped over my like laying like this over my book bag, and he goes, are you know, tired? You didn't sleep well? And I said, no sir, like I really don't feel well. And I said the phrase, and he was like, oh madame, I think you need to go out. And I was like, yeah, I think I do. So the guy though is still talking, but finally after like 10 minutes, and I can't stay in this room any longer. So I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm like, gotta push past all these people to get out, including the person I mentioned this phrase to earlier. And right at the door is a chair, like a folded chair that's open. And I basically like fall into that chair and kind of start breathing very heavily, right? Like I'm gasping for air, trying to get air, trying to cool down. I feel so hot. There are 3 beekeepers who are outside doing some things like in the I forgot the word for it in English, the beekeeping place. I don't know what it is in English, sorry. One of them comes over to me because they have a hose out there, and she says, you know, do you need some water? And I was like, yes. And so I take the hose, she hands me the hose, I take it, and I just dunk the hose. I'm pouring it all down my front, my back, my neck. I'm just so hot. And she was like, okay, like let's move you over here to this bench. At that point, she calls over another woman. Now I'm like kind of becoming a little bit delirious. I can't really open my eyes. They're like, stand up. And that's when I stand up, that's when I like lose, like my legs give out underneath me. And they lay me down on the bench. They're just hosing me down. Like they now turn the hose on high And it's like you're watering a garden, but me. I am the garden. Down my shirt, my legs, my feet, my hands, my arms. They take off my hat. They hose down my hair. They're taking my heart rate. They're trying to take my blood pressure. My heart rate is through the roof. So later on, I looked at my Apple Watch to see what my heart rate was. My heart rate was basically almost the same as what it usually is when I rollerblade. They have my legs up in the air, you know, and they're holding my legs up so that they can get the blood to, you know, rush back to my heart, right? And it's just like, and then I start crying, right? Because it's just so emotional. I feel so overwhelmed by what's happening. I'm scared because I feel like I'm dying. I honestly felt like I was dying right then and there. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is happening? It was the most overwhelming feeling that, it is the second most overwhelming feeling that I've ever had in my life. And then after like, they've completely, like I'm cooled down like I'm drenched, you all. I am a sponge, right? Like I am soaking wet, like completely soaking wet. They say, you know, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? They take my heart rate again. They're like, okay, your heart rate's come down, etc. And they're like, how are you doing? And I'm just like, I start crying again. And they said, you know, what's wrong? Why, you know, like, why are you crying? And I said, I want to go home. Because I wanted to go home. And the first woman said in French, what did she say? The second woman said, I thought she spoke French. And then the third woman in French goes, she said she wants to go home. And then it was just like, oh. And they were like, well, do you have anybody who can come get you? And I was like, no. And they said, you know, can you take a taxi home? And I said, you know, I don't want to take a taxi home. What taxi's letting me in their taxi soaking wet like I am, right? You know, like no one's letting me in. I was like, I don't want to take a taxi. I said, actually, I took the bus here. The bus goes straight to my house. I'd rather take the bus. And they were like, okay, you know, once you're feeling better, we'll take you, like we will have to walk you to the bus and make sure that you get on the bus. Then someone comes over, they give me honey. They're like, here, it's like a pot of honey and a spoon. They bring me multiple cups of cold water, and then they bring me some food to eat. And finally, when I'm able to, like, they sit me up and they have me like eating and drinking, whatnot. You know, by this point, I don't know what time it is. Maybe it's 12:15. And, you know, the man finally lets us out. You know, so we only get out 45 minutes earlier, but we've been baking in this little room. It wasn't just me who found the room insufferable. I just had the most extreme reaction. And later on, it seems that I was basically on the verge of heat stroke. Like I was in the beginnings of heat stroke. And so that's what was happening to me. I am slowly beginning to feel better, but this is why I say that you need to know this phrase. So the phrase is called to faire un malaise, and direct translation is fainting, like someone fainted. And the man turned to me and he said, oh, are you tired? I said, no, I think I might faire un malaise. Like, I think I might be like not well. It was an instant switch in him, right? Like this instant reaction. The phrase, even though it directly means fainting, what I have learned from my French friends and the French people that I know here in Paris is that it actually kind of has a slightly broader sense, maybe more in the sense of something is really wrong with my health. I am really, truly not well in the moment, like there's something serious happening. So I've learned that you can use it even if it's not necessarily like fainting, but if the situation, you can tell like a situation is really, really bad from a health standpoint. Because that's what it means, I truly believe that it is an incredibly important phrase to know if you are ever in an emergency situation, a health situation in France. Whether you plan to move here, it's especially important to know. But even if you're visiting, it's good to know. I have only had to use it a few times. In each of those instances when I had to use it for mainly other people, and then once most recently for myself, people were just just hopped right to it. So having this situation happen to me this weekend really helped me understand just the importance of knowing those phrases and those moments, and kind of being able to give people some sort of sense that you're really unwell, because they may not fully recognize it. We know in America, you yell fire and everyone's gonna go whoosh. You know, so it's kind of like, what's the equivalent to that in France? And that's it. So it's called Faire in Malaise. Please don't anyone come into the comments section trying to correct my French. These people out here in these streets in this France, they understand everything that I say. So if they're good with it, please be good with it as well. Nonetheless, as I mentioned, I really wanted to touch on this topic because I think it's important, and also because we're going to be experiencing more heat waves in Paris. It's going to be hot, and you need to be able to, if you're not well, to be able to kind of say what's going on. So with that said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed getting this little information. I hope that it helps for your trip, or if you are planning to move to Paris. Either way, please be safe out here in this heat. One of the things that they do when the city gets like this is they keep the parks open like much later into the night. These parks at night, these parks during the daytime. You all, when I was when I was going to the beekeeping class at this park that I hadn't been at before, guess what ran out in front of me? Guess what ran across the path in front of me and another woman? A rat. Okay, I'm not in these parks at night. Okay, I don't need that level of relationship. You know, if you're visiting, you're probably staying in hotels, you have air conditioning. But if you're living here and you need to cool down, you know, just know that you can go to the parks. You can also go along the Seine with the human beings and more mice and rats. But the point is be careful and be safe in the heat. There are lots of places to get fresh water in Paris, so look for the fountains, get your fresh water, and just be safe out there. I hope this video helps you. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!